Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball.
The Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions. Eagles fans everywhere, this is for you.
Now entering the game for Philly Pressbox Radio, Bill Furman and Jim Chet Chesko.
It's Wednesday, November 9th, 2022. Welcome to the Philly Pressbox Radio Roundtable, brought to you by the Irish Rover Station House in Langhorne, PA, Allstate Insurance in Westchester, PA, and the Edge of Philly Sports Network. I'm Bill Furman. I'll be your host tonight, along with my partner, Jim Chet Chesko. And hey, Chet, the World Series is behind us. What a fun run that was. The MLS Finals didn't go our way, but the Eagles continue to roll on at 8-0. The Flyers and Sixers are playing well. Philly sports fans really had a special October and early November. What a run.
Yeah, it's been a fun few weeks for sure, Bill. We no longer have 5 pro teams in action right at once, unfortunately. That may never happen again. Who knows? But we do have those 2 teams that play at the Wells Fargo Center, of course, and the still unbeaten Eagles. So we're never going to run out of stuff to talk about, Bill. That's for sure.
Well, that's for sure. And, we're going to get to this a little bit later, but the Phillies offseason started the day after the season. So we certainly still have plenty of Phillies to talk about while it's fresh on our mind as well.
Yeah, they already cut some players. They picked up a couple of people off of waivers today, so they're already making moves. There are rumors about, some other guys, particularly a few shortstops who are available. So we'll see what happens there. We'll talk about it.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, you had a chance to attend the Philly Sports Hall of Fame last week or early last week. They inducted several new players and hosted the Hall's treasurer, Mike Conroy, was there. You got a chance to meet up with new Hall of Fame members, David Akers and Jimmy Rollins. How was all that?
It was a lot of fun. It was my first time going there, Bill, so I had to figure out some things as far as how it worked with the media interviews and all that, where the food was for the media people, very important. I did, though, say hello to some legends like Phil Martelli and former Sixers GM Pat Williams. We've had Pat on the show previously. And, yeah, I did manage to get short interviews with both David Akers and J. Roll, and we're going to play those interviews back for you in about 15 minutes or so.
Right. And as I mentioned, Mike Conroy. Mike will be joining us tonight a little bit later on. We're glad to have him make his first visit to Philly Pressbox Radio. And we'll find out all about that Philly Sports Hall of Fame and how it works. And they've been going at it for a long time. 2004 were their first class. So There'll be a lot to talk about with Mike.
Yeah, for sure. They started up 20 years ago. The first inductions, as they said, were in 2004. And it's a good event. So I'm glad I got there, and I'll definitely be going back next year, if they'll have me, of course.
Well, absolutely. All right. Hey, well, let's talk Phillies. As we said, Chet, the World Series didn't go quite our way in the end. The Phillies bats went silent when they went back to games 5 and 6.
It was so disappointing. You go up 2-1 with a couple of games at home, and theoretically your 2 best pitchers slated to go, in Aaron Nola and Zach Wheeler, and then all of a sudden, nothing over the next couple of games in Philly or in Game 6 in Houston. 3 runs, Bill, in those 3 games, 9 for 98. That is an 0.91 batting average over those 3 games. Look, the Astros are a great team, almost no weaknesses, but the Phillies got to do better. I mean, they just had no answers for that great Houston pitching staff. And, when you get to the World Series, you got to figure some things out. Didn't they set a record for strikeouts, I believe? Yep. Tough to watch at times.
71, 72 strikeouts, something like that. New record. The old record was 70.
A lot of swings and misses.
Yeah, a lot of swings and misses and a lot of off-balance hitting. They let fastballs go down the middle like they were looking for a breaking ball. Then they threw them a breaking ball, and it looked like they were looking for a fastball. They just looked confused. And to the Astros' credit, when you run Justin Verlander out there, and in that series, I mean, he's going to win the Cy Young. There's a real good chance. He was their 3rd best pitcher in the World Series. You got to give props to the Astros. But something just didn't click right with the Phillies as well.
Yeah, the props for the Astros. I mean, they're deep. Every single spot, the rotation, the bullpen, they got some depth as far as, the guys they put out in the field. So they're tough to beat. They've been in the World Series, 4 of the last 6 years or whatever. They won a couple times now. And they didn't even have to cheat this time around. So they're a good team, Bill.
Well, at least that we know of.
That we know of.
Yeah. Well, hey, and so as we said, the season, the off season has begun. Gene Segura is gone. David Robertson, Zach Eflin, Corey Knebel, to name a few. They're going to free up money, but you got to be careful. Everybody wants Trey Turner and Rondon. Let's stack up. But you know what? You still have to fill the other spots. You can't spend all your money on one or two guys, and all of a sudden, you have holes all over your bullpen again and everything else. So they're going to have to be a little careful how they manage their money here.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. It sounds like they are definitely looking for a shortstop, especially, with Segura gone now. So they would move Stott to second base. And you got Trey Turner and those 3 other high-quality guys out there. So something's going to happen, I'm pretty sure. And from what we hear, Turner would love to play in Philly with his buddy Bryce Harper. So Bryce would like to have Turner here. I think it's going to happen as long as the Mets don't, sneak in there and throw $60,000 million at him or something. I think the Phillies will have a good shot at getting Trey Turner.
Yeah, and the timeline on all this is 5 days. So I guess let's see, they ended on Saturday night, right? Saturday night. So Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday is the 5th day. So maybe it's Friday, but somewhere right in there, 5th, however they start the day count, you can start signing guys. So that's why these guys get released the day after the World Series. And now all of a sudden the market is wide open and they can start signing people very, very soon. And Trey Turner's name may come up here by the end of the week.
Yeah, I don't know if that'll happen right away. We'll see. But what about the guys they let go? Kyle Gibson, Noah Syndergaard, Corey Knebel, Brad Hand, David Robertson, and Zach Eflin may be a bit of a surprise that they didn't try to bring him back. So those are the 6 notable names, I guess, the Phillies are saying farewell to.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of pitching. Well, maybe it wasn't always good pitching, but they were decent guys that were filling spots that they needed. And, you got to replace them. You don't throw out your old shoes until you got new shoes. You know what I mean? They've got their hands full on especially back in the back end of that bullpen, because we saw some things. When you peel back the onion and you look at some of the things that happened in the World Series, the back end of that bullpen throughout the playoffs was not necessarily that strong.
Yeah, and then everybody's questioning the big move in the final game, taking out Wheeler, bringing in Alvarado. Didn't quite work out the way it did the first time he did it, but it didn't work out the second time or the third time. I didn't like the move. I'm guessing you, Bill, as an old dinosaur, you don't like seeing a pitcher taken out in that spot with 70 pitches or whatever.
Yeah, well, I mean, I told you back two, maybe 3 weeks ago, I didn't like the way Rob Thompson was handling the starting pitching. He took Wheeler out way back in the first series. He took Suarez out early. It all worked out for him because they ended up with a lot of big hits at the end. The bullpen was solid. But then when they got to the World Series, it didn't work out so well because, 1, they didn't score a lot of runs. And 2, you matched your best lefty against their best lefty hitter, and their best lefty hitter was better than your best lefty pitcher. On those nights.
And like I said, the Astros are clearly the better team, but it's just kind of frustrating because the Phillies did have their chances. Like I said, you're up 2-1 with a couple of games at home. Just couldn't get it done. So, hey, it hurts, but we move on. And the weird thing is the Phillies may still, at this point, only be the 3rd best team in their division because the Mets and Braves ain't going anywhere.
That's right. Well, and I think we have to have the conversation about Rhys Hoskins. I think there's some real – Rhys has showed up, I think, to be a real quality leader on that team in the clubhouse. But I think they have one more year left on his contract.
Yeah.
Do you try to make a move for him? You got Garrett Hall on the farm. You got Alec Boehm, who I think that first base thing with Boehm may have gone away because he's turned himself into a Gold Glove third baseman as much better as he got. So what do you do there? You got to make a move somehow.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if they did trade Hoskins. I'm sure they're going to listen to all offers for him. I don't know if they're going to try to necessarily unload him, push him out. He's a guy who's going to hit 28 or 30 home runs. It's just that he's so streaky, and we know now he's not a very good fielder, so that hurts. But the thing about Derek Hall, if they were to move Hoskins, Hall just can't hit lefties. So then what do you do? And you still got to find out about Bryce Harper. They're still going to decide in the next few days whether he needs surgery. And if it's, the big one, Tommy John, he's going to be out 6 months is what they say for an outfielder. So that means probably 3 months into the season. So they got a lot of things that they got to figure out over the next month.
Yeah, absolutely. Plenty to talk about. That's for sure, though. And as we said, it was a great run. And there you go, Kyle Schwarber. Thanks, pal.
Yeah, Kyle was a pretty good addition. He only hit 215 or whatever, but he clearly is a great leader for that team, and he hit some long balls.
Absolutely, and he made it fun. That's for sure. Funny that he tried to bunt, but that's a whole nother
that was
story
crazy.
For a whole nother story for another time.
Crazy.
Somewhat pedestrian, PJ says about Hoskins. What do you think?
That old comment.
There you go. All right, let's talk Eagles, Chet. 8-0.
People done with Fritz. Yeah, Eagles, let's go.
Yeah, let's talk Eagles. One thing I'm ready for, Chet, is to get on some sort of a regular schedule. Bye week, Thursday night, Monday night. Let's get to Sundays where we can settle in on the sofa and watch some Eagles football.
Yeah, this feels like a bye week since they haven't played since last Thursday, and they won't play again until Monday night when those Commanders come to town. I didn't get to see a whole lot of the Thursday night game because the Phillies, were on at the same time. Plus, I was coming back from the Philly Sports Hall of Fame event, so I joined the Phillies game in progress. I went to the Irish Rover. They had both games on the TV there. I was keeping more of a close eye on the Phillies. And from what I saw, it wasn't a great game by the Eagles, but they still won by 12 points. And getting the W, of course, is the bottom line. And I'm not going to, nitpick about every little thing that they didn't do well. The one thing is the concern about the defense and the inability to stop a good running back. Pierce in the case of the Houston Texans, but they got a lot of other good running backs coming up in the near future, including Derrick Henry a few weeks from now. So that's the one little concern I might have, but they're 8-0, so I'm not going to bitch.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to give them a little bit of a pass for Thursday night. And I'm not good on passes, but giving passes, but you're coming back on a Thursday night. There's all this other excitement going on and disruptions in Philadelphia. They travel to Houston to play a 1-win team. A little flat, little letdown would be expected. Still took care of their business. Offense still played pretty well. And like you say, the only weakness in that was the run game defensively, but they took care of it. So Commanders are next.
Yeah, well, they do miss Davis. He's going to be out, for another 3 weeks or whatever. And the stats show that they are clearly better in stopping the run when Davis is in there. So they do have to shore that up. And there's still the special teams concern, but I'm not overly concerned about Washington. We'll talk about that later in the show when we make our picks. So we're talking maybe about an undefeated Eagles team going into like week 14 or 15, Bill. But
yeah, you really are. You really are. I mean, these other teams, the Green Bay Packers, they stink. We expected way more from them. They're not very good. And Tennessee, as I said, I think is going to be a tough game, but they don't have Tannehill, at least right now. So if so, they could win that game. They could be running all the way to Christmas Eve undefeated.
Yeah, they could. I was trying to find the schedule that I had here, and I don't see it. But what I do have are the power rankings, courtesy our buddy Paul Domowich, and he finally has the Eagles in the number one spot now that Buffalo lost to those New York Jets last week. So a lot of people think it could be an Eagles-Chiefs or Eagles-Bills Super Bowl. It certainly looks that way at this point.
Well, I mean, you got to play them out. We got to
yeah.
see what the Giants are made of. Are they any kind of real or not? We got to play them twice yet. Dallas and Dallas. The Vikings are managing to play good ball. They're going to be okay. 49ers, I can't figure out why they're getting so much love from everybody. They're a 4-4 team that's lost to some bad teams, but everybody seems to have a lot of love for them. Adding Christian McCaffrey is one good thing for him, but he does not play defense.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. So let's see. I think I got a schedule here that I can add.
And by the way, the Colts are coming up, and they're a train wreck. They stink too.
There you go.
So Washington, then the Colts, the Packers, they should all be wins. The Titans game will be tough. At the Giants, maybe. Bears, they're trying to be better. And then you go to Dallas on Christmas Eve.
Big talk on the radio today. What if the Eagles were 14-0 going into that Dallas game, and the Eagles already had the top seed locked up? And then you're finishing up the last 3 games of the season with the Cowboys, the Saints, whom you own their first-round pick, and then the Giants, who may be fighting for a playoff spot. If you have the top seed clinched and you're playing those 3 teams, what do? Do you rest your guys? Do you play them for a half each of those games? What do you do, Bill?
Well, I think what you see, look at the Phillies. It's a perfect example. Momentum, hot teams. You don't want to cool down. If you're 14-0, 15-0, 14-2, it doesn't matter. You got to be playing good ball come playoff time, and that's what we got to see. And if they're going to get a bye week, so they're going to get a rest, I say you play them through. Injuries happen. If it happens, it happens. But I think you don't want to come out of those. It could be almost a month, with those 3 games in a bye week, and come into the playoffs and lay an egg because you're not, you lost your edge. I say you play them through.
I say we probably shouldn't even talk about it yet because we're only 8 games into a 17-game schedule. So let's worry about it, in a month. How about that?
I'm with you. Well, hey, Chet, let's take a quick break and thank our sponsors, and then we'll get on with some Philly Hall of Fame talk. So I got a feeling, Chet, with all this sports going on, you've been spending more time on your couch than you are in your car. It's time to start saving with Allstate's pay-as-you-go auto insurance.
Yeah, that's right, Bill. Allstate's pay-as-you-go auto insurance puts you in control. You only pay for the miles you drive with the same full coverage that a traditional policy offers. Pay-per-mile insurance gives customers greater control of their insurance costs. See how much you can save with pay-per-mile car insurance by calling your local agent. Guess who? In Westchester, Pennsylvania, it's Dave Lavoie. Call Dave at 610-430-0700. Once again, 610-430-0700, and start to save more now that you perhaps are driving less.
Well, hey, you mentioned being at the Irish Rover Station House the other day for watching the Phillies and the Eagles. What's going on at the Rover?
Yeah, I did. I popped in there a couple of times, actually, during the World Series, Bill, and they were packed both times. And as I mentioned, on Thursday night, they had both of the games on the TVs there. I snapped that picture. You see Eagles on the left and the Phillies on the right. There's Bryce. And they had a real good crowd there. It was pretty much standing room only. A lot of fun, too, despite the outcome of the Phils game. Lots going on this month now at the Rover in Langhorne. Of course, you know this. They always have dinner specials Thursday through Sunday. That crab cake platter is calling out to me, as a matter of fact. And coming up the latter part of next week, then, the 17th through the 21st, it is the Irish Rovers Friendsgiving with Thanksgiving-themed specials every day. We'll tell you more about that on next week's show. And, hey, if you're a beer lover like me, remember there are always 24 beers on tap at the Irish Rover Station House. They're located on Bellevue Avenue in Langhorne. The website, irishroverstationhouse.com. And hey, Bill, because I was hanging out with a bunch of WMMR folks this morning at the Camp Out for Hunger, I'm going to throw this in there right now.
It's me, Jackie Bam Bam from 93.3 WMMR, Philly Pressbox Radio. Chet, Bill, what are you doing? It's me, Jackie Bam Bam. Hey, Chet, Bill, I love you. All the best. Bye.
He's
there
a
you go.
goofball. Jackie Bam Bam.
He's a good man. Well, hey, as we mentioned, Chet, you had a chance to attend the Philly Sports Hall of Fame banquet. You visited with David Akers and Jimmy Rollins. You're walking around with the elite. Tell us, elite Philly sports athletes. Tell us about it.
Yeah, it was a wonderful event. Lots of great new inductees for 2022. And without saying any more, I'm just going to let this video recap cover it all for you, Bill.
Okay.
Founded 20 years ago, the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame already has more than 300 inductees, 17 of them honored during the ceremony last week at Live Casino. Among this year's inductees were late Villanova head basketball coach Rolly Massimino, longtime St. Joe's coach Phil Martelli, and Flyers original head coach and longtime general manager Keith Allen. A handful of Broad Street Bully-era Flyers were on hand at the event in support of Keith the Thief. Another inductee, that would be Phillies all-time hits leader and 2007 NL MVP, and of course the shortstop on those 2008 World Championship Phils, Jimmy Rollins. And I talked briefly with J-Roll about his latest honor and about being there to watch the 2022 Phils in the series. And yes, it was a bit noisy there at the casino. How did it feel to be back in Citizens Bank Park with so many of your old teammates this past week?
You know what? That was absolutely fantastic. We've obviously come back together in 2018 for the senior year we were going to get the World Series. But we were the ones that celebrated. So all the attention's on you, not on the guys on the field. In this situation, it's like a reminder how great these fans are. And we're not the ones that are celebrating. We're there and they give us loud cheers, but it's the team on the field that they're rooting for, pulling for. And a lot of people say that they remind them of us. No, I told them, don't make their own legacy. Make them talk about the 2022 Phillies. And, oh wait, Phillies will be okay. Our legacy is already cemented. Make them remember you. And so to see it happening, see the fans show up, to see the players deliver, it's been just an amazing ride.
And how about you, William, in the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame? What does that mean to you?
It's crazy. It's something I never really thought about. For me, the hardest thing was to win over the fans and become a part of the city, being there the city. So to be honored, with the plaque, and I'm going to be forever in this Sports Hall of Fame when my kids grow up or want to take a trip back home. So I have two daughters that were born here. The youngest was born in Chicago. They can know that their dad had a place that loved him as much as they did, and I was able to do things special in the city that they decided to honor me with a spot in their Hall of Fame.
Congratulations. Among the other inductees were former Ursinus field hockey coach Adele Boyd, former NFL referee Art McNally, who also, by the way, went into the Pro Football Hall of Fame this year, and the 1982-83 world champion 76ers, inducted by that great team's general manager, the legendary Pat Williams. And, oh yeah, WIP's Howard Eskin. Unfortunately, Howard couldn't be there as he was out in Houston for the Eagles' 8th straight victory to start the season. Speaking of the Birds, the team's all-time leader in field goals and points and a 5-time Pro Bowl selection, David Akers, was also inducted. Having played 12 of his 16 NFL seasons with the Eagles, David is still a huge fan of the team. First of all, let's talk about the unbeaten Philadelphia Eagles, your old team. What do you think of this team?
Oh my goodness, they're playing amazing right now. It kind of reminds me of the 04 team that we were part of. They brought in some great free agents. They did a great job in the draft, and they're just balling out right now. Jalen Hurts has hit it to another level. The receivers are playing amazing. The defense has really stepped up. They have some other guys that have kind of come in this year. Riddick, one that just kind of comes to mind, the way he's playing Slay. Obviously coming in from Detroit a couple years ago, and I was able to play with Slay his rookie year in Detroit, and so when you see what John Gannon's kind of doing there and what Sirianni's kind of put together offensively, it's been pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's exciting times for sure. Speaking of exciting times, you going into the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame, being honored by the city you played so many great seasons, what does that mean to you?
Well, Philly changed my life. The fans really, I have so much gratitude for them, but obviously the Eagles organization gives me an opportunity to play for 12 years here in a time where that's not an easy task to do. So very, very appreciative and a ton of gratitude, not only for the Eagles organization, but Andy Reid and Jeffrey Lurie for that matter. But it's an honor just to be in the same room with these other athletes that are up here, and for that I'm just extremely grateful.
Last thing, you got a Super Bowl prediction?
Birds.
All right, I like it. I like the way David thinks. Congrats to David Akers, J-Roll, Howard Eskin, Coach Martelli, and all of this year's Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame inductees.
Well, that's awesome, Chet.
That was fun, Bill. Good time.
I bet it was. Hey, I'm going to tell you I'll tell you what. Let me introduce our guest, and then I will tell a quick story because he's a memorabilia guy too. So that leads us right into tonight's guest, Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame treasurer Mike Conroy. Mike, welcome to Philly Pressbox Radio.
Oh, thank you for having me. Good evening, guys.
Hey, Mike.
All right. Hey, I wanted to throw a little story out there because you mentioned David Akers and him being humbled. You guys know I'm a memorabilia guy. I have an Eagles helmet from way back, a game helmet, signed by all of them, Bednarik, Van Buren, all the way back.
Great.
And I got David Akers to sign that as the all-time leading scorer. And he told me that he was humbled that I would ask him to sign my helmet with all these other Eagles legends. And that was back when he was still playing.
He's a super nice guy.
Super nice guy. And what you saw there is exactly what I saw years ago. He's that kind of person.
Hey, Mike, it was great to meet you in person last week. And first things first, I talked to a couple of your colleagues at the Hall of Fame about this. I think it was Bob and Ken. And they both mentioned the rather unusual timing of the banquet this year, the inductions, a couple of unexpected conflicts on the schedule. You were going up against an Eagles game and, a Phillies home World Series game. Were you guys worried that maybe a lot of ticket goers wouldn't show up and maybe a bunch of promised inductees wouldn't show up?
Chet, you're not kidding. I mean, literally, as soon as they went 1-1 and came back to town, you saw the weather forecast and they were calling for rain. And we just all looked at each other and said, what is our contingency plan here? Can we move the event if it happens? And the show must go on. So we had a lot of people flying in from across the states. So, from our perspective, show needs to go on. We spoke with Jimmy and he said, I'm going to do everything start to finish and just escort me over to the ball game after. And that's what we did. We literally ran him across the street, pushing people out of the way so he can get in and get to his box before the third inning.
And by the way, he had a great line during his little speech. He said he's used to batting leadoff, and you had him last on the schedule there.
Exactly right. It was unprecedented for Jimmy himself, but he was a good sport, and what great guy, just telling stories. I mean, we had him in the back. He was, his impersonation of Charlie Manuel. If you ever get the opportunity to have him do Charlie Manuel from West Virginia versus Virginia, he hit it nail on the head. I really couldn't stop laughing for at least 10 minutes.
Well, hey, Mike, we mentioned that the first class of the Hall of Fame was 2004. Those are kind of, as you go down the list, they're kind of a lot of obvious Philly icons. But what I really like in looking at the list, there's places like the Palestra, Don Bragg, Harvey Pollack, Stan Hochman, not your normal athlete guys, but certainly legendary Philadelphia sports figures. How did it come about to include people like that? Because to me, it really makes the Hall of Fame so much better yet.
No, absolutely. So, it started roughly 20 years ago with Ken Avalon, the president, and Bob Cassidy and some of the other folks. And they were really sitting around in a garage having a few beers and they were talking about, what sports history the Philadelphia network and scene has. And they looked into it and realized that there was no Hall of Fame for Philadelphia. And they started to go through, the legal process, make sure that everything was tightened up. And then once they landed it, it was get that intro class in with everybody. But really from Ken's perspective, it was Philly related. How did you get the news? How did you get the sports? The people who played, any type of history that could impact you, and really that's what sports is all about, to take you away from your day-to-day job, get you to relax and just enjoy moments in life. And whether it's reading Stan Hochman on his boxing or wherever, or, Howard Eskin and listening to him banter about, nitwit and, you're scared, go get a dog. It brings the full scope into the Philly Hall. And that's really what, the team here, what we're trying to accomplish is really, capture all walks of life from the Philadelphia sports scene and really honor them the way they should be.
Well, you've done it for 19 years now. You started, as you said, in 2004 with the first inductions. This was the 19th year doing it. It looks like you put in 15 to 17 per year. So you just crossed the 300 mark already.
Yes.
And you also have now a preview gallery. You don't have a full museum yet, but you have a preview gallery at Spike's Trophies in Northeast Philly. And I guess it's open on Saturday mornings. What will people see when they go there?
That's correct. So right now we're looking for that long-term home for the Philly Sports Hall. So in the interim, Ken Baldwin at Spike's Trophy was gracious enough to carve out some space at his main office. And really what we do there is really put together a nice showcase of some Philly Eagles sports history, 48, 49 championship, 60 championship. And then inside we have some palestra. We have some 2 exhibits that are going up right now. We have a Larry Boa and Dick Vermeil. We have a small Bill Lyons exhibit. We have Spectrum, boards. We have vet seats. We have Willie Penn's hat hanging up in there. We have the old vet window boxes where you would buy the tickets as a little kid, your dollar dog Franks, and go up there and get your ticket and go sit in the 700 level. I mean, we try to pack it in as much as possible until we find that long-term interactive home.
That is really cool. Well, how do you go about nominating guys? I mean, like I said, I've been doing this a long time and so many great names in there, but it takes 20 years to get Fred Sherrow in there. How do you go about making all that happen?
So what we do is we get together as a group and we go in, and there's certain bylaws and criteria that we follow from the hall. First and foremost, they either need to be a Philly native or have played in Philly for 5 years. That's the first foremost criteria. Once we identify those particular athletes or media, we put together a rather robust ballot, and then we send it out to our former Hall of Fame inductees as well as the news media. And we get that votes back, we tally it up, and we look for that 75% marker. If they don't hit that 75% marker, we really go back as a group and we look to bring in a diverse class. So we have our majors, which are, the 4 major sports there. And then we have things like rowing, kickboxing, you name it. And then we have a legacy, and we honor a former team that has done the city justice here, won some championships. And this class was the 83. We alluded to get them in since we've been backtracking a bit, trying to get some other great teams in the hall early.
Hey, we're going to talk about what you do with the Darren Dalton Foundation also, but I want to ask you about the current Philly sports scene right now. What's this like for you, Mike? You're a big fan of everything that's going on. How much fun have you been having over the last few weeks?
I need around 20 TVs to keep track of everything going on. It's just, euphoric right now. Even watching the Union, I'm not big on soccer, but I sat there and watched the penalty kicks and just couldn't believe that guy slipped. And I'm just like, we should be called the second city after the weekend that we just had, where we keep getting that runner up. But, never a bridesmaid, never a bride, but soon enough, we'll get there and take the cake. But, right now it's just been great to see the Eagles, what they're doing. I mean, any given Sunday, so on week by week, I know everybody's like, undefeated season, are they going to rest them against New York? I just want to win this upcoming week against the Commanders. I don't want any surprises here. Just, take care of business, guys, and do your thing and move on to the next week without injury.
One game at a time. Yep.
There you go. Jump over to the Phillies. We'll ask you a Phillies question. What's your thoughts on Trey Turner? Is he the guy you're wanting to see now that we let Gene Segura go down the road?
I don't think I would lay that kind of cash. I mean, he's going to want probably, 280, 290 million for that long-term deal. There's a few other lower name, high quality potential. They really need an average hitter there. You can't go in with a 220 average and close your eyes and get a swing. You need somebody that's going to put the barrel of the bat on the ball and really put it in play. And we saw those opportunities earlier on in the World Series, but when those bats went dead, that the team went quiet. So you can't have 73 strikeouts in a World Series and expect to walk home with the trophy.
Well, one of everybody's favorite Phillies back in the 90s, Darren Daulton, and you're involved with the Darren Daulton Foundation, you told me. What is their mission these days now that, Darren's gone, and what's your involvement?
No, absolutely. So, Darren was a big part of my childhood. I grew up in South Philly and used to ride my bike down to the vet. And one of the first individuals who I met outside the vet was Dutch, and he'd sign anything I put in front of him as a kid. And, you go home and you put your cards in the sleeve holders and you keep showing your friends all those autographs. And then, time passed and I followed Dutch's career. I always thought he was, that leader, that field presence. And a buddy of mine was on the board of directors for the Darren Daulton Foundation, said, you should come out and to one of the events. And, we're raising money for, families that have individuals with brain cancer. And what they really do is they support them from an economic perspective, really to provide them funding in and around, as medical expenses go up, really to help them get the treatment they need without sacrificing house and home to get there. So, the Dutch Foundation and Brett Datto, who's the president of the foundation, does a tremendous job to, provide that funding to individuals in need. And, I just try to help out any way possible, whether it be, helping the golf outing, grabbing drinks for Ricky Jordan. I don't care, anything I can do to help the cause, but I help with the golf outing as well as the celebrity bartending and some other events throughout the year, just to help them raise as much funding as possible to help support the cause.
Now, the Philly Sports Hall of Fame also has a charity arm. I guess we could call it an arm. Tell us about that as well.
From a charity perspective, we are a non-for-profit. So what we do is we like to give back to a lot of the players and their foundations, whether it be, just any type of involvement that they have, charity legs. We like to donate money, time, and individuals. Tim Kerr does a 5K down in Avalon to raise money. We'll run that race, just promote the Hall of Fame, promote Tim Kerr, some other ones. There's so many that we try to get involved in that it's, our mission statement is really, the players gave back to us and we want to give back to the individuals as well as the charities that they form.
And finally, Mike, we can see behind you, and you showed with your camera earlier, you got quite a collection of items in your man cave. I think you're probably right up there with Bill Furman in terms of collecting things. What are your personal favorites? What do you go for mostly?
Oh, I'm a history buff, obviously, with the Philly Sports Hall of Fame. So, I got some things signed by Connie Mack, if you want to go back that far.
Whoa.
But my major prized possession, my old man was a big Eagles fan. So in the 1960s, he was at every game, and then, he passed along the legend to me. And then when I got to meet the greats, Tommy McDonald and Chuck Bednarik, it was just crazy. My high school football number was 60 after Chuck and played offensive line. It was just one of those things. So I have a team signed helmet signed by, I want to say 24 of the players of the 60 team, including Bill Campbell, the announcer. So that's one of my prized possessions. I drug my wife to every signing possible to meet those guys, and, sat and had lunch with Tommy McDonald in his living room, which was just absolutely insane.
Oh, I bet.
Fantastic.
Just to hear him. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say the funny story with Tommy. He tells me how he'd be outside of Franklin Field between the brick and mortar, and he would rub his fingers on the cement so he'd be able to catch the ball in the cold weather. And then he has me shake his hand. You could see he ripped off every single one of his fingerprints just to make a living catching a ball. But, a fan favorite by many old schoolers.
Absolutely. Well, and that reminds me, I wasn't going to say this, but the Chuck Bednarik hand is the most unbelievable hand, where this finger went this way and they were all mangled, and one of them did a 90 degree, his pinky finger did.
He was caught in a helmet and snapped back, not to get too graphic, but
it's an ugly thing. Or it was an ugly thing.
Yes, it was.
Hey, Mike, before we let you go, how can people follow what's going on at the Philly Sports Hall of Fame? How can they donate? Can they be part of it somehow? Tell us what they could do.
Absolutely. Thank you for this opportunity. First and foremost, you can go to PhiladelphiaSportsHallOfFame.org. That'll give you information about the upcoming next inductee class 2023, as well as some fundraising campaigns we have. And then in addition to that, we're always looking for volunteers, individuals that can help design websites, individuals that can get our name out in the social media. One thing that we really want to do is promote our brand and really let the world know that, hey, Philadelphia has a sports hall of fame, and, you have to be a part of it to believe and see, the good that we do, and just to see some of the players that go in and just hear their personal stories. I mean, I think J-Roll was so excited to be a part of the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame. It's almost like, a pat on the back saying, you made it in Philadelphia, one of the hardest cities to play in. And they wear that proud on their shoulder. So, with that being said, it's, more people that volunteer, the better. We're looking for passionate individuals that really, have a love for sports and a love for, giving back. And that's really what we're looking for.
Fantastic.
All right, Mike, this was great. Thanks, Mike.
Yeah, Mike, thanks for coming by. Let's do it again. Let's not make it another 10 years since we've been doing it. 9 years.
No,
let's do it soon.
Absolutely. Let's do this very soon. Maybe before an Eagles parade, not to get too ahead of myself.
There you go. I like the way you're thinking.
Yeah,
all right, Mike, thanks, buddy.
Thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening, gentlemen.
All right, you too.
Take care.
All right, Chet, let's give a shout out to all the shows at the Edge of Philly Sports Network this week. As always, wall-to-wall coverage. It slowed down a little bit with the World Series coming to an end, but we're picking it up with a lot of football coverage. That is for sure. You can check all the action out at www.eopsports.com, as well as Edge of Philly Sports on YouTube. You can also find our show, Philly Press Box Radio, YouTube as well. Hit those subscribe, follow, like buttons, and always share with your family and friends.
And Bill, before we go on, we have to wish everyone a very happy National Scrapple Day.
Yes, National Scrapple Day, especially to our pal Joe Howe. And there you go, Joe. Joe commented on something else and said, wow, but I'll hit that one up there right now. And while we're wishing happy, Chip, happy birthday to you the other day. So happy birthday, pal.
Yeah, turning 40 was a little scary, but I'll be okay, Bill.
You remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
well.
All right. Let's welcome our man from Splits Bar and Grill, except he's at the Vitrone Bar and Grill tonight. We're going to make this week's pick, provide some Week 10 better tidbits. Boop, welcome back.
40, Chet, really? Make it believable.
Right. He don't even remember 40.
Can we do 45 maybe?
Hey, hold on. Hey, yeah, okay. I'll allow it.
Oh, so Chet, how did we do last week? What are our standings? Week 9. We're starting. We got to start closing the gap, Boop.
I think Boop may be dropped from splits because his picks just aren't up to snuff. I got to tell you. Good news for you and me, though, Bill. We were a perfect 4-0 last week. However, Boop took the Rams to beat Tampa Bay down there. Both teams kind of stunk, but it didn't happen for him, so he was 3-1. So at the season's midpoint now, 9 weeks down, 9 to go, I am 25-12, still 2 full games up on you, Bill. Boop is now, well, at least he's over 500 at 19-18, but that leaves him 6 games off the pace. But there is still hope for you, maybe, Boop.
I just hope to finish.
well, hey, Chet, but you look at the comment that I put up there. You don't get a shout out. I don't get a shout out. Who gets the shout outs?
It reminds me, I got to send him a check.
All right. So here we go with Week 10. We were going to add the Vikings and the Bills, but Josh Allen's got an injury that we're not quite so sure about. So we didn't put ourselves in that bind. We went Chargers at 49ers, 49ers -7, Boop.
This is the 3rd straight time we've added the 49ers. Do you just want to add them for the rest of the year for the heck of it?
No.
That was Bill's choice.
Yeah. Anyhow, the Chargers, they got flexed. The Chiefs game next week got flexed. So now they got back-to-back Sunday nights. All of a sudden, that second Sunday night's a lot more important to them than the first one. So this could be a trapped, flat game for them. I'm going 49ers.
Yeah, I'm going Niners as well. They've been playing better than I expected them to. They're favored by, I think you said, touchdown, Bill. I'm taking the Niners.
Yeah, I'm just not in love with the 49ers. I'm not feeling. I'm going Chargers. I'm going Chargers. Only because I'm just not feeling the defense that's coming out of the 49ers. I just don't like them. Hey, Boop will be back. Be careful. It says right there.
Okay.
All right. Texans at the Giants. Giants -6.5.
Giants lost at Seattle last week, and we sort of saw that coming. They're now 2-7 in the Pacific time zone since 2013. I triple checked. This game isn't out west, so Giants.
Yeah, Giants still playing a lot better than I expected when they're not out west, and Houston's just not that good. I got to take the Giants.
I got to take the Giants. It's not Houston's not that good. Houston's not good. All right. Cowboys visit Green Bay. Cowboys are -5.
Green Bay's home after 3 straight road losses. The Cowboys could actually play this game in the Bay and beat Green Bay, I think, this week. Dallas.
Who would have thought, a month and a half ago that Dallas would be favored by 5 over the Packers at Lambeau Field? That is just amazing. But, I mean, it's the way it should be, and Dallas is going to win.
Yeah, Dallas is going to win. Green Bay stinks.
They do.
They got to get something straightened out. Well, maybe they don't. They got to play the Eagles. So let them just keep on.
Out yet.
Let them keep on stinking. All right, Monday Night Football. Eagles host the Commies. Eagles -11. Double-digit favors again. Boop.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a little bit. First off, Hurts will be going for his 12th straight win, regular season win as a starting quarterback. He would be the 26th quarterback since 1950 to do so. Moments ago, I posted the entire list of those 25 quarterbacks to my Twitter feed at Boopstat. So if you, it was a list anywhere, so I had to go out and kind of put it together. So it's a fun little list, a lot of new names, a lot of old names, but hopefully he won't disappoint and go and get it. Win number 12 in a row on Monday night, and he will.
Will they cover, Boop?
Let's get to that in a little bit.
Okay. I'm going to tell you right now, they're not going to cover. Just like last week when the Eagles did not cover the 14 against the Texans, they're not going to cover this 11-point spread, but the Eagles will win 27-17 is my prediction.
Yeah, the Eagles are going to win. 27-17 is probably not a bad score, right? Maybe 31-17, but it's going to be in that neighborhood. But Eagles are going to win, going to go to 9-0.
Yeah.
What's the line, Bill?
11.
Okay, and what did he say they're going to cover?
I said 27-17, so Washington would therefore cover.
Washington will cover. Okay, I got you.
Yeah.
Well, this is the first time in history the Eagles have been double-digit favorites for 3 straight games. First of all. Secondly, the last 10 times the Eagles have been home double-digit victories, double-digit favorites, 10 victories, 8-2 against the spread in those 10 games, and one of those was that Christmas night. One of the spread losses was the Christmas night 2017 with the return touchdown and the Nick Foles kneel down instead of the extra point that would have made it a push. So they have not only owned the favorite, being a 10-point favorite at home, but they owned it on the line also. So unlike last week, when I told you they wouldn't cover, they are going to cover this week at the link Monday night.
Okay.
There you go. What other Splits Bar and Grill tidbits you have for us this week for Week 10?
The Miller Lite was very cold last weekend. I remember that. I think they put a lot of stuff on ice knowing we were going to keep coming back for all those Phillies games. But other than that, nice to see the Flyers playing well. Did you see the Joel Embiid was 16 for 16 from the line? The same night the Temple kid was 18 for 18 from the line. That can't happen too often. I wish I knew someone that could look that up.
I think I saw a tidbit on Boop Stats about consecutive free throws in a game.
Yeah, we did. We ended up listing the best perfect free throw game for each of the 6 schools, as well as the best couple for both, not only the Sixers, any excuse we get to get Paul Iverson's name on Twitter in 2020, as you know, we're right up that alley.
Speaking of college hoops, I was at the WMMR Camp Out for Hunger this morning, and they had their annual City 6 Pop-A-Shot competition.
Yeah.
And for the second year in a row, Griffin, the St. Joe's coach, won it.
Yeah, good. Love it.
Boop, how did you like
it? Any wins as they get all year.
Yeah.
How did you like the opener, Villanova LaSalle the other night? Not much of competition. LaSalle hung around a little bit, though.
Yeah. I didn't watch. I was out to dinner that night celebrating the 30th anniversary of the day I met my wife. And then they had that funky FS1 Big East bounce around.
Right.
And I taped it, hoping to see a lot of LaSalle and a lot of LaSalle Villanova. And then, like 3 minutes in, they went to the St. John's opening, and I just gave up on it. There's enough college basketball to watch without having to fight through 4 or 5 different wraparounds. I don't know who came up with that idea. Let's not do that again, please.
No, I didn't much like it either. All right, Boop, where can people find you? Keep up on you with Boop Stats.
Find me at Twitter, at BoopStats. I post a lot of my stuff also on my website, boopstats.com. Mostly if you want to go there and print something out, it's a little bit easier, including the TV listings I put together every day, because it gets real complicated these days, as we found out with that Villanova opening night, and college stuff popping around, and both football and basketball. So I like to put those listings together to make it easier on myself to find stuff. So why not make it easier for all of Boop Stats fandom?
Well, I can tell you, Boop, I look at that all the time because
down here, Bill.
Well, I live in Florida, so it's just not on regular, and I got to find it, and I reference it all the time.
Glad to hear that. More people.
I'm going to leave you on a disappointing note. However, you will not gain any ground on the defending champion this week because we have the same picks.
Yeah, if you said you think you're 40. Are we sure you're the defending champion? Now we might have to, it's election time. I might demand a recount.
Oh, Boop, we're losing your signal. We're going to have to cut you now.
All right, Boop.
Get out of here, Boop.
Let's do it again next week.
Absolutely.
Okay, bud. All right, Chet. Great guests tonight in Mike Conroy, David Akers, Jimmy Rollins, Bob Vitone Jr. Who's coming to Philly Pressbox Radio next week?
Well, next week, Bill, we talked to this guy just before the NFL draft. A pretty good night for the Eagles, as it turned out. It's that longtime Eagles beat writer who is now semi-retired. You know him, you love him. He's working on a perpetual tan while he's also doing some writing about those underachieving Green Bay Packers these days. It is our old pal, Mark Eckel. We may or may not have a second guest. I'm thinking we will not this time. I think we're just going to talk to Mark for a while, and then you and I will chew the fat, Bill.
I might have to be careful with my Packer stink comments. Mark might not be real happy about that. He'll start throwing around Bart Starr's name or something.
I think Mark knows the Packers stink this year, Bill.
Well, Mark is always fun and always full of information, so we'll be looking forward to that.
And he's going to want to play Fast Five as always, so I got to get some questions ready for him.
Absolutely. Well, hey, Chet, the Union, as we said, they had the MLS championship at their fingertips with just a couple minutes to go. Couldn't hold on. What a heartbreaking loss in a shootout.
Yeah. In addition to the loss, this also sucked. I watched much of the latter part of the game, the regulation time, the extra time, and then they went into overtime, and I had to leave to go somewhere. I kept checking the score while I was driving, found out they actually went ahead in the overtime, and then learned it wasn't sudden death. So, no, they didn't win. They had to keep playing for a little bit. And then, of course, L.A. tied it up and won with the penalty kicks. First of all, I hate the whole timing thing. Why can't they just have a regular clock which tells you how much time is left? No, they finished the 90 minutes. Then there's extra time. Why don't they just stop the clock when, instead of adding it later? And then why not sudden death overtime and no penalty kicks? This is one of the big gripes I have about soccer, and I know I'm not alone, Bill, but the bottom line, tough loss for the Philadelphia Union.
Well, and you hit right on the nail right on the head with why soccer really irritates me is that whole clock thing. You never know how much time's left in the game. I'm not a fan of that, and I'm certainly not a fan of shootouts. Just like I am not in any of the other sports that they do stupid things with. And if you're going to play overtime, play sudden death in a game like that. It's not like football where each team should at least get the ball. You have your chances in soccer to do that. But And I was not watching the game until you texted me and said, "Are you watching? You should watch it." And I watched the end of it, and it was tough. They had it right in their fingers.
And the highest ratings, by the way, for the MLS Cup final in 25 years. So people did watch 2.1 million, which, compared to like a Super Bowl or something is nothing, but pretty good for the MLS. And let me just tell you one quick story, Bill. I had a concert Saturday night. I had tickets for the Hooters. So my decision during the week was if the Phillies went up 3-2 in the series, I was going to just blow off the concert, stay home and watch. But if they were down 3-2, which unfortunately is what happened, I was just going to DVR the Phillies game and go to the concert, because if Houston won, who cares? And if the Phillies won, there'd still be a Game 7. So I DVR'd it. I watched the nightmare as it, happened later on that night and Sunday morning. That was my Saturday night, Bill. The Hooters were great, by the way.
Yeah. Well, the Phillies at least made it interesting, taking that 1-run lead. And, I don't know that we thought that was going to hold up, but I thought that they might get another run or two, and that didn't happen.
Hey, don't forget about Philly Sports Trips, Bill. They have an awesome pregame tailgate ahead of Monday night's Commanders-Eagles game at the Link, road trips to all away games, and spring training. We can talk about that. That's actually, not that far off now. Spring training trips next year. Hang with Charlie, perhaps. All the details on the website, phillysportstrips.com. Again, phillysportstrips.com.
It's funny you say that, because it's really going to be an interesting baseball winter, because it's going to be so short. We played for almost 6 additional weeks, 5-6 additional weeks. Heck, it's almost time to report. It's almost February already.
Yeah, about 100 days, 3 months and change. Yep.
That's right. All right. Well, hey, let's give another quick break. Thank our friends at the PPCC 118 Raz Room. They post great sports memorabilia on their Facebook page, so people can take a chance of winning something they may not be able to afford or have access to. All items come with certificates of authenticity. You continue to run out great autograph memorabilia from all the Philly teams and more. Check out their Facebook page. Like it or follow it. It's PPCC 118 Raz Room. That's right, PPCC 118 Raz Room on Facebook. And Chet, I believe if you looked right now, you would see that there's a Jalen Hurts, there's a Devontae Smith, there's a Brian Dawkins items up there as we speak.
All right. We didn't get to talk about it, but the Sixers finally got a win the other night. Embiid did play well. We did mention that. And Carter Hart of the Flyers still unbeaten in terms of regulation anyway. What is he, 6-0-2? Hopefully he's on the mend. They won without him on Tuesday night. So get well soon, Carter. And, the Flyers are playing better, Bill.
Yeah, and my understanding is Carter Hart was supposedly sick yesterday. That's why he was scratched. He was at practice today. He will be back in the pipes here tomorrow. I believe it's tomorrow.
Awesome. Let's wrap it up, Bill. I'm hungry.
All right, let's wrap it up. Let's thank tonight's special guests, Mike Conroy, David Akers, Jimmy Rollins, Bob Vitrone Jr., our sponsors, the Irish Rover Station House, Bob Sullivan's LikeYourAge.com, PPCC 118 Raz Room, and Dave Lavoie of Allstate Insurance in Westchester, PA. For Jim Chet Chesko, this is Bill Furman. We hope you enjoyed today's show and National Scrapple Day, since you put that up there. And we'll join Philly Press Box Radio next Wednesday, November 16th at 7 p.m. You can see us live on Facebook. Listen to our website, phillypressboxradio.com, on blogtalkradio.com/phillypressboxradio, on Google Podcasts, as well as Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and all the others. So, Chet, I'm going to go batten down the hatches because we are in the middle of a hurricane. Hopefully, we will see you tomorrow. Talk to you tomorrow. How's that? Hi, hope Philadelphia sports fans, and go Birds.
Let's do the song. Come on.